Our innovation hubs are located in Nova Scotia, Montreal, Ottawa, Edmonton, and Vancouver. Each of those provinces has different needs, different concentrations of focus.
The Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce has been a cornerstone for growth and support in the Black business community in Canada.
All of our participants in our entrepreneur programs receive funding from the Black Opportunity Fund as long as they're meeting milestones along the way.
If you're not already involved in mentorship, consider what it could mean for your and your community to start today.
But here in Canada, we're a little bit behind. StatsCan has recently kicked out a report that shows that there's 144,000 Black businesses.
Today, we are focusing on the pivotal contributions of Black-owned businesses to our nation's economic fabric, the significant strides made by the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, and what the future holds for this dynamic sector. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, SK. Joining us today is Doug Minter, a distinguished leader in community development and economic empowerment. After transitioning to Canada in 2019, Doug has made significant impacts as the sponsorship and partnership manager for the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, where he has successfully driven over $5.4 million in funding to support Black-owned businesses across Canada. Join us as we explore Doug's remarkable journey and the transformative work being done at the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, Doug. How are you doing today?
Fantastic.
It's a fantastic to have you here to discuss your journey and the incredible work you are doing with the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. The Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce has been a cornerstone for growth and support in the Black business community in Canada. Can you tell us about some of the most successful recent partnerships that the CBCC has initiated?
Yeah, so our team of 30 plus people is working hard to meet the mandate and the needs of Black entrepreneurs throughout Canada. I'll say this, we've got some amazing partnerships, but of note, I would cite the Black Opportunity Fund as one of our key partners. Banks such as CBCC and BMO. Those are kind of the three that kind of come to mind amongst others. We have partnerships with 5 different organizations across the country that have partnered with us to provide advisory support as well as facility support for those particular innovation hubs. But what's really unique about our partnership with the Black Opportunity Fund, I'll kind of laser in on that one, would be the fact that all of our participants in our entrepreneur programs receive funding from the Black Opportunity Fund as long as they're meeting milestones along the way. And once they complete those milestones and they're eligible for $1,000 of a non-repayable loan fund, they don't have to pay back, that they could use for their business each 90 days that they satisfy program requirements. Mm-hmm. So that is a wonderful historic opportunity for Black entrepreneurs, and we thank the folks at the Black Opportunity Fund for creating what I think is a historic kind of help up for Black entrepreneurs.
Right. As you rightly said, it's a great initiative and as well as a great help for the Black entrepreneurs. And I have been following you very closely, the initiatives of CBCC, like recent launch of the innovation centers.
Yes.
And I would like to congratulate you on that one for those initiatives.
Yes. Yeah. Nikki Clark is our national business manager, and she leads that effort with her team.
Okay.
And she's got a team of 6-7 folks that are working diligently to build those hubs out. She's done an amazing job flying around the country and creating those partnerships. And we think it's a wonderful, wonderful initiative that's a part of our 4-year initiative with FedDev to support 1,500 entrepreneurs. So it's a lofty task, but we're digging deep, and getting the work done.
Okay. As you mentioned about the partnership that you have recently created, can you shed a light, how these partnerships help in furthering your goals for the chamber?
Yeah. So what's wonderful is Black Opportunity Fund, again, not only are they funding the entrepreneurs themselves, but they are also have funded us as an organization. So that helps with our sustainability. That is probably the number one word in our house, as well as any other nonprofit throughout Canada. We're always looking at how do we create models that are sustainable for the long term. And we think we've done some unique things. Our innovation hubs uh, are built to be very agile and lean, but provide maximum output. So we're very proud of that, and we're continuing to work hard. We are looking at additional partnerships, not only with the federal government, but municipal governments, provincial governments, but more importantly, outside of that, right? Corporate contributions. Our partnership with CIBC has been a long partnership. Um, it goes back to 2020, and they have really invested in us. And we're looking at new partnerships with family foundations across Canada, so that we can diversify our portfolio of funding, as well as, of course, growing revenue generating things like membership and other such
Initially,
programs.
right. Thank you so much for sharing these insights about the CBCC. Understanding the landscape of Black businesses in Canada is essential for targeted support and development. Doug, what are some key data insights that you have gathered about Black businesses in Canada?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's probably the biggest elephant that's in the room is Black data. There's not a lot of Black data here in Canada. Of course, I'm from the U.S. originally. Been here about 4 years, and in the U.S. Census is amazing in the amount of data that it shares. You can literally probably find out any kind of data you want. But here in Canada, we're a little bit behind. StatsCan has recently kicked out a report that shows that there's 144,000 Black businesses. And so that's significant in the fact that they're collecting this racialized data. For us, we have then looked at our grassroots data. We have a direct population of about 1,300 entrepreneurs that we've served over the past few years, and then a broader community of followers, 20,000 plus through our social media and our newsletter. And we had a post that had a million views. So, we're getting out there. But the data tells us a couple of things. If we extrapolate the data that we have, the aggregated data of the 1,300 entrepreneurs, and we express that to the data that StatsCan gives us, it tells us that about 70% of Black entrepreneurs are under 10,000 in revenues. About 20% are between 10,000 and 100,000 in revenues, and then 10% are above 100,000 in revenue. So there's about 15,000 entrepreneurs who are, revenue generating at the kind of growth stage. They're getting to that stage where they're starting to grow and starting to scale, and trying to 10x those operations to get to their first million.
And at the same time, contributing to the GDP of the country, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a huge
Exactly.
number.
And it's significant to us to understand what industries, right? Those revenue generating firms are, so we can double down on it, getting them connected into all of the resources throughout the country that they need to be tapped into.
That's right. And how this data that you came out with, after the research, is shaping the programs and the initiatives at CBCC?
It shapes everything that we do, right? We didn't have this data when we started, so of course we made a lot of mistakes, and we probably wouldn't, hindsight's 2020. But now that we have the data, it's allowing us to really conquer the specific direction, right? It's one thing to say, hey, we generally want to help Black businesses. when you start going into the how we help them, the data helps us inform the specific task that we're going to make a priority. For instance, we've dug deep with clean tech, right? So we have a clean tech and sustainability program. We have a social ventures capitalist, Brian Durarte, who runs that program for us, does an amazing job. And uh, we also have dug deep into STEM, especially with female founders who have been marginalized by, being women in male dominated fields such as science and technology and engineering, and so forth. And so, Dr. Shelley Sanderford is our advisor, and she does an amazing job with those women, and they find it as a safe place for them. So we've looked at the data of Canada, and we've tried to match it with the data that we're getting for Black entrepreneurs. And one of the things that we're seeing is there is this convergence between kind of the four big areas that Canada's going into: advanced manufacturing, clean tech, digital technologies, and agri-foods. Well, there are Black entrepreneurs interfacing in all of those four major areas, and that's where Canada's doubling down on. So we are too.
Right. I think it's clear that informed decisions are driven by solid data and that can significantly uplift the communities. Let's take a moment to talk about the importance of data in shaping business strategy. As Doug shared, the insights on the landscape of Black businesses in Canada, it is clear that having accurate data can guide better decision making and resource allocation. For all our listeners out there, think about how you are using data in your own businesses. Are there opportunities deepen your understanding of your market? Remember, knowledge is not just power, it's potential. Now, let's talk about the role of mentorship. Mentorship is very crucial element in a personal and professional development. What are your thoughts on mentorship and volunteerism within the context of business growth?
It's interesting. You want something that's going to really impact people, and m- mentors really help become an example for you, right? They're not there to tell you what to do. They're there to be a great example,
Right.
a good example of a good example, as my grandfather used to say, a good example of a good
Good
example,
example, right.
right? And we recently had some talks with BDC, and we're working on expanding our ability to offer more mentorship to people in targeted areas, especially with specific technical things that people need, right? We can advise. We have 16 advisors who are amazing, so we can provide advisory services. But there's nothing better than an entrepreneur meeting another entrepreneur who's been through exactly what they're going through in their industry, um, and giving that kind of technical, nuanced assistance. Like, hey, I've been through the same situation. Here's what I did. Here's how we managed through that, worked through that. Here's who we partnered with. All of those examples.
Real life examples, you can say,
Yeah,
right?
real life examples, lived experiences are critically important to get disseminated to Black entrepreneurs. Um, and one of the other things too with volunteerism, we have some volunteers reaching out to us, co-op students. People are hungry to be involved, right? At whatever level they can be to help grow the ecosystem, because it grows the community and it grows Canada.
Right. Now, following on that, can you share how the Propel Mentor Project program has influenced the businesses who are involved in it?
Yeah, so we have a plethora of programming based on those three tiers, like companies that are below 10,000,
Right.
companies between 10,000 and 100,000, and then companies 100,000 plus. We're actually working on programming in partnership with Black Opportunity Fund, ACBN, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, to develop enhanced programming, for those firms that are 250 and above, right? That are more into the larger scaling companies. But what we've seen from our programming, our startup programming has really helped entrepreneurs get access to what we think is best-in-class software to help them build business plans, pitches, to make it seamless and easy. It's AI infused. So that's probably on the startup side, we're really happy about what we've put together there. For the people in the mastermind groups, our mastermind groups are small, peer based cohorts of about 8 to 10 entrepreneurs. And what we've seen from there is you've got to have a place for, once they've kind of started, you got to have a place for that entrepreneur to incubate and feel like they're in community. And what's interesting is everyone talks about mentorship and advisory services and all that. There are surveys in the U.S. That I think are, agnostic to entrepreneurs, right? It's kind of applies to everyone. But one of these surveys asked thousands of entrepreneurs, who's the one person you go to first when you have a problem? And everyone thinks it's the mentor, it's the advisor, right? And in certain circumstances, that's probably true. But when they ranked it, the number one person that they would go to is another business owner.
That's true.
And that was so insightful for us. And so we have doubled down on creating communities within our programs so that they can interact with each other, right? And I think that's just as powerful as having a great mentor, a great advisor, great accountant, access to some marketing experts. That's what you need, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, I believe the impact of mentorship in building sustainable and thriving business cannot be overstated. Yeah, thank you for sharing those thoughts with us. As we discuss the role of mentorship with Doug, I want to connect with our listeners on this vital aspect. Think about the mentors in your life, or perhaps the times you have mentored others. This exchange of knowledge and experience is invaluable, not just for business success, but also for personal growth. If you're not already involved in mentorship, consider what it could mean for your and your community to start today. Mentorship enriches everyone involved and powers the entire business ecosystem. Thank you for tuning into the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. We are going to take a quick break. Stay with us, and we will be right back with more insights and stories from the heart of small business.
You dreamt big. You made the leap. You and your "we're not stopping at small" business. Doesn't matter you've never done it before. You unlock those problems. You adapt to change. You learn to evolve. You're pioneers in challenging times, finding your own frontiers. Wherever you e-commerce, UPS is with you. So nothing is going to hold you back.
Nope.
Constant Contact delivers the marketing tools your small business needs to keep up, excel, and grow. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall.
Welcome back to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Let's continue our journey into the inspiring world of small business, full of innovation and passion. Now, let's discuss about the innovation hub. Innovation is key to business evolution and sustainability. You have recently launched 5 innovation hubs across Canada. What are the main objectives of these hubs?
yeah, so the main objectives of those hubs, again, to create community, right? So that they have a safe place to come where they can interact, network, learn, right?
Right.
It's programming. Nikki Clark's team is big on, developing specific programming for that province.
Right.
Our innovation hubs are located in Nova Scotia, Montreal, Ottawa, Edmonton, and Vancouver.
Wow.
Each of those provinces has different needs,
Right.
different concentrations of focus, Vancouver's kind of that film and movies, the entertainment space is
Yeah, it's totally a
big.
different space, right? Yeah.
And then in Montreal, they are becoming one of the hubs of Canada in AI space. So we'll follow the trends of the focus areas of those particular provinces.
Right. And Doug, like, how do you envision these hubs changing the landscape for Black entrepreneurs?
Well, I think one of the ways is connectivity. So one of the problems here in Canada is, Toronto's such a wonderful place, right? With all these assets and resources. But if I live in Saskatoon, how do I get access to those resources? How do I meet with a counselor or an advisor or a mentor? Or how do I get take advantage of a guest lecture, a master class that's being done in Toronto, but I'm in Montreal or I'm in Vancouver? How do I get access to that? And so one of the things that we see is it's a way for you to learn, and in a hybrid way where you're in person, but you get to watch a guest lecturer who may be in another province or even in another country.
Right. Right. And like, how can any brand or any Canadian brands especially get connected with Canadian Business Chamber of Commerce to get involved with these hubs initiatives?
Yeah, simply reach out. If you have needs as an entrepreneur, or you're interested as a partner, potential sponsor, just send a request to info@CanadianBlackChamber.ca. That's info@CanadianBlackChamber.ca, and someone on our team will connect you with the proper person to address your needs.
Thank you for sharing that information. And Doug, I believe, these hubs that you just mentioned promise to be catalyst for innovation and long-term success in the Black business community. Reflecting on the exciting development of the 5 innovation hubs that Doug mentioned, it's inspiring to see such proactive steps being taken to support Black entrepreneurs. To our listeners, this highlights the importance of innovation in business, whether it's through embracing new technologies, new thinking, or new collaborations. How can you foster innovation within your own businesses? Perhaps there's a way for you to support or create your own hub of innovation, whatever form it may take. Now, let's discuss a little bit about the future of Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. Like, looking ahead is always exciting, when there are clear visions and goals. Where do you see the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce headed in the future, and what are the long-term plans?
Yeah, I think it kind of boils down to 3 things. We want to make sure that our membership services are best in class, where we're not selling, we're just telling. Right. It's to the point we want it to be so robust that people are, asking us, hey, I want to be a part of this. 2 would be best in class entrepreneur development. That's really, really important to us, that when you come to us and we're giving you what you need when you need it, and doing so in a way that is best in class. State-of-the-art software. We have advisory software that we think is best in class to help, and it's 2-way interfacing. Entrepreneurs can bring people into that software, share about their business, and it helps them organize and really focus on 90-day plans. Right? It's very much accountability-based software. The other thing would be we want to be master conveners of the ecosystem, right? We can't do everything for everyone.
Right. That's
but
true.
We can definitely be a part of bringing everyone together that needs to be together to attack different issues.
Right. And I believe, with such an efficient team and dynamic leadership, especially like Doug, and with clear objectives, the future looks very promising for CBCC and all its members and its community. Now, before we conclude, could you share a piece of advice for our listeners who are aspiring entrepreneurs or business leaders?
That's a great question. I would say this: spend adequate time on the dream, and go talk to 100 people as fast as you can about that idea.
Right.
Not so they could steal it,
Right.
but to potential customers, right? To really interview who you think the persona is.
Right.
So if it's young people, Gen Z, right? Go talk to 100 people,
Right.
and really find out what their needs and concerns are before you launch your product. It will it will do you well. Second thing, go talk to an accountant. Everything you do in business creates a tax, has some tax implication,
That's very important.
right? Go speak to an accountant.
Right.
Find an accountant that you trust. Talk to a bookkeeper. Really work on building the financials out and understanding that piece. And then go. Go back to those 100 people you
Right.
talk to, try to get them to become customers.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this valuable advice for the aspiring entrepreneurs. And we will be adding the contact details of Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce in our podcast description. So if anyone is interested in partnering with you, if anyone is interested in connecting with you to become a part of your community, it will help them out. Thank you so much, Doug, for joining us today and sharing your invaluable insights and inspiring stories with Canadian SME Small Business Podcast.
On behalf of our board, our members, and our staff, we thank you for reaching out to us and helping us to create generational wealth and trust.
Thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you.
Today's discussion was all about the profound impact of strategic partnerships, dedicated mentorships, and the innovative platform in empowering and uplifting Black-owned businesses in Canada. A heartfelt thank to our exclusive partners, exclusive banking partner RBC, exclusive shipping partner UPS, exclusive accounting software partner Xero, and exclusive email partner Constant Contact for their ongoing support. Don't forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine by visiting our website canadiansme.ca. Stay tuned for more enriching discussions like this.